Namaskar. Uh, Good day to everyone. And so my name is Nileshok, and here is this experiment of YouTube Live. My friend on the West Coast in Seattle, he suggested that I create YouTube Live videos of 10 minutes or so. And this morning, actually, I did experiment. So this is, you can consider this as take two. So let me experiment and let's go with that. Now, if you are watching and if you feel like typing a comment, do let me know if the volume is good and all that. That will be good. Okay. So what I would like to talk today, let's take a subject of something from a modern science and also a similar phenomenon from Ramayana. And I'm not going to talk science here, but if we look at the latest in modern science, it's the quantum mechanics. When I say latest, it's going on for 100 years. Now it's very successful. It's you see the application of quantum phenomenon or quantum mechanics in everything, like all applications, your smartphones, electronics. However, there is no good theory that explains the mechanism behind quantum mechanics. Actually, therefore, there are many different theories. I mean, this number keeps on changing, but to the best of my knowledge, anywhere from 14 to 17 different mutually conflicting, mutually contradictory theories to explain this phenomenon of quantum mechanics. Okay, so that's the reality of to do with Valmiki Ramayana. I want to take you back to 14,000 years. Okay, now that is dating of the events of Ramayana that I derived based on 600 plus internal references of the Valmiki Ramayana itself. But that's not the subject today. In the Valmiki Ramayana, there is one character. His name is Kumbhakarna, and he is the brother of Ravan. Now, those of you who are familiar with Valmiki Ramayana, you may know this. If not, he has a peculiar condition. The descriptions are such that unless you are familiar with sleep research, you think this is exaggeration. It's exaggeration with no basis in reality. This character, Kumbhakarna, sleeps 6 months, okay, and he eats a lot and drinks a lot. That's how he is described in Valmiki Ramayana. Now, he's a very brave man. He is very good in fighting. He is also very intellectual, very intelligent person, has a great sense of moral principles, the niti dharma, great warrior, as I said. But his peculiar condition is really appears like next to impossible until just a few years ago. So what happened is maybe more than 12 years ago, I was researching on a sleep related diseases and sleep related medical products. And while I was doing that, I came across one case study of a 14-year-old boy. And when I read the descriptions of this case study, something kept on telling me that I have heard or I have read something similar. And after some thinking, I said, that at least some aspects match with the descriptions of Kumbhakarna from Valmiki Ramayana. So here is some interesting experiment I did. What I did is I had not read Valmiki Ramayana with Kumbhakarna in my mind, but I noted down all the different symptoms or characteristics of this 14-year-old boy who had a specific sleep disorder. And then I started reading Valmiki Ramayana to see if I can find those similar characteristics. And lo and behold, actually I did. This disease now is called Kleine-Levin syndrome. It is after the two medical men, who documented these kind of cases during the First World War, during the Second World War, and even otherwise, nothing to do with the war itself. And therefore, the name is called Kleine-Levin syndrome. The definition of the Kleine-Levin syndrome is something that most people will know about Kumbhakarna, which is he used to sleep a lot for a long time, like 6 months, and then he used to eat and drink a lot. These are the two characteristics that are required in order to define this syndrome as Kleine-Levin syndrome. Okay, so that's given. But then there are many other descriptions. And so now what I did, when I say now, that was 10 plus years ago, I started reading Valmiki Ramayana with specifically this condition of Kumbhakarna in mind and the different characteristics of Kleine-Levin syndrome. And one after another, I started finding the descriptions which matched with the Kleine-Levin syndrome. And I'm not going to go through all of those, but few that I would like to mention. One of them is what I describe about the quantum mechanics. So quantum mechanics is reality. Okay, it's useful science. It has been implemented in various applications, but we don't understand the causality behind it. We don't have a good working functional theory. What you find in Ramayana is that the case of Kumbhakarna is real. Of course, Ravana is managing it, but because there is no causality established, just like quantum case of quantum mechanics, you find there are three different mutually conflicting contradictory theories for explaining this condition of Kumbhakarna in the Valmiki Ramayana. Okay, so I will not go into the details, but they are mutually contradictory. Okay, which is what very similar to quantum mechanics. And in terms of the disease management, there are a couple of things. For example, the Kumbhakarna is described as sleeping for 6 months. And I also thought next to impossible. I mean, what could that be? So when in 2008 I read about it, I came across the case with the longest period of 3 months, like the patient would be sleeping for 3 months. And I said, well, I can go out and do the comparison with Kumbhakarna, but I thought, people may come and say, well, 3 months is okay, but Kumbhakarna 6 months, now that's an exaggeration. So I waited, and I'm glad I waited, because in 2000, and I kept on following this literature on this disease. And in 2015, another paper on Kleine-Levin syndrome came out, and actually this had a case study of a patient who had this condition lasting for up to 12 months. So forget 6 months, which was the story for Kumbhakarna. So quickly, couple of very interesting points. One is the condition is real, but the causality is not understood. Therefore, there are multiple conflicting, contradictory theory to explain this condition in Valmiki Ramayana. That is the reality for Kleine-Levin syndrome even today. Just like I gave you example of a quantum mechanics. The second one, in terms of the management, whatever is described as a patient management protocol for Kleine-Levin syndrome today, like for example, make them a very comfortable arrangement for sleeping, keep the lights down, keep the food ready, drinks ready when they wake up so that they don't become irritable, make sure the food is in a huge quantity because that's what they're going to eat. You find exactly same arrangement, same descriptions made during Ramayana. That's more than 14,000 years ago. Okay, the durations are also similar. Kleine-Levin syndrome patients will have a variable durations. For example, it could be 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months for the same patient. You find those descriptions in Valmiki Ramayana. Ravana is telling about Kumbhakarna that sometimes he sleeps for 6 months, other times for 7, 8, 9, or 10 months. So you find lot of similarity. And the last point I will make is about the human psyche, which is to say, with the evolution, we think, or evolution of the body, but evolution of the mind, especially the influences of the nature and nurture, we think the human psyche would have changed. And maybe it has, like we don't have all the data points. But just based on this condition, I would say that certain aspects of human psyche have practically not changed. If there is a problem, we want to know the answers. We want to know why. We want to know what, how, where, etc. That we feel about our modern problems, modern scientific theories like quantum mechanics phenomenon and whatnot. But even in those times, people felt compelled to come up with answers, and that's how they have three different theories. And also in terms of human response to the problems, again, we find they are very, very similar. For example, the patient management that was practiced 14,000 years ago for the condition of Kumbhakarna is practically 1:1 identical to the patient management that is practiced today for a Kleine-Levin syndrome. All right. So with that, I'm up to my 10 minutes, actually slightly over 10 minutes. So I'm going to stop. Please, those of you who get to listen to this, do let me know what you think of this. Again, based on my friend's suggestion, his idea is to limit myself to 10 minutes, and I will do that. Let me look at the question. Wah kya baat hai? He's saying, hi Nilesh sir, can there be any other year of Mahabharata other than yours? If you can elaborate. Okay, I'll take that question. Now we are going about 10 minutes. Not related to this. And so, wah kya baat hai? I will just make a quick point. I think we also need to get into this routine that, I mean, I will answer your question, and the great question. But it's a good idea to, when we ask questions, to limit ourselves to the subject or topic that is being discussed, because otherwise what happens, we can ask question about anything, anywhere, and it becomes digressive. So can there be any other year of the Mahabharat war? In a science speak, there is no final word. So the answer to that is, in principle, anything is possible. Now, the year that I have come up with is 5561 BCE, okay, for the year of Mahabharat war, based on all the internal 300 plus astronomy evidence from the internal to Mahabharat text. And then there is a phenomenal validation, phenomenal corroboration from 12 plus different disciplines of science, So, for example, geology, geophysics, geochemistry, hydrology, morphodynamics of rivers, oceanography, climatology, physical anthropology, genetics, seismology. I must be missing few. Okay. Agriculture, domestication of animals, I mean, paleobotany, paleontology, that all is taking you to 5561 BCE. So in my mind, in my subjective judgment, I will say, I have no doubt whatsoever. But science speak, we have to be always open, that something else that we don't know will come up and will, make us change our mind, and we should be ready to change our mind. But here is the point. The best, what I can say with a purely scientific mindset is that 5561 BCE is the best claim that is available for the year of Mahabharat war. And if somebody asks me what is the second best, I would say there is no second best. In fact, every other claim, no exceptions, will fall into one bucket. And I won't give a name to that bucket. I would encourage all of you to actually go back and explore those claims. Look at the logic that is being used, look at the evidence that is being used, look at the framework, look at the methodology that they have used. And so therefore, based on all of this, they fall into one bucket. So that's my answer. And Venkat Ramanji is asking, can you look into the date of Adi Shankara? Thank you. It's a very conscious decision that I have made to not look into many historical aspects or our history, anything that is, I say jokingly, but I really mean it, that I restrict myself to research subjects which are pre-2000 BCE. Okay, so I don't typically get into this. What I know from the work of Kota Venkatachalamji, but also many others, that Adi Shankara, the timing of Adi Shankaracharya is around 500 BCE, not the exact date. I mean, there could be a few different claims. For Buddha is around 1800 BCE and so on. I have looked at the dating of Vishnu Puran and Bhagavad Puran. So based on the internal references, now this may not be the timing of its original composition. It could be simply the timing of the update. We can't exactly tell that. But Bhagavad Puran appears to be around like 1200, 1300 BCE. Now this could be just the update to Bhagavad Puran. And Vishnu Puran appears to be, again, possibly the update, not the original composition. around 1600, 1800 BCE. Okay, so that's what I have. Couple of areas I have gotten into post 2000 BCE, but otherwise I have restricted myself to pre 2000 BCE, and that's the plan, frankly, going forward. The reason for that is I have not found much objectively testable evidence, what I consider objectively testable, what science considers objectively testable evidence, that you can take it and connect it with these particular events, whether it is Adi Shankara or whether it is other Indian ancient narratives. Okay, I'll take this too, and I want to stop. Okay, so another question: can you say anything about the astra, like Sudarshan, Narayan astra, Brahmastra? Are they occult type weapons? That's a very interesting area, and I'm someone needs to be willing to commit and willing to conduct original research for at least 12 plus years with no guarantee of success, and we might make some progress there. So I don't know who is that person, but it's a very pregnant area, very attractive area. But people should be willing to put all the tapasya that is required with no guarantee of success. And I'll take that last one from Venkatramanji. Geological study of Purana River in Kaladi is at 500 BC, while Purana River source is aged more than 5,000, 50,000 years. Okay, I know what you are going into. I will not go there. See, that I have seen the theories based on trying to look at the change of course of this river near Kaladi, and based on that, trying to date the timing of Adi Shankara, based on some statements that either he has made or somebody else, or some what you can say Sthala Purana story related to Adi Shankara and related to that river. So Venkatramanchi, we have to be very careful. I mean, you are saying you are giving some other evidence. We have to be extremely careful in how we use this evidence. Okay, that's not objectively testable in any way that I can think of. All right. Again, you are asking questions totally unrelated to what I wanted to talk or what I did talk, which is the human psyche, the change in evolution of a human psyche over more than 14,000 years. How human psyche, we want to know the answers to the questions, like the kind of questions that you have. We have to be very comfortable with this concept itself, that we will not have answers to all the questions, and we should be comfortable with that too, while very pragmatically, with a dogged determination, trying to find the answers that we individually, each one of us, find important. So if you meaning any one of us, find something very important, then we should be committed to work on it. There is no point asking others. I mean, of course, we may request them, but it may not be their interest, So that's what we need to work on. Okay. Yes. How can an engineer become like you? That is Indologist. What is the course in India? Guys, let's stop for this one. I meant to do it for 10 minutes. He is already getting close to 20. And again, I would say, I mean, the questions can go on in all directions. It's very important that, and I will make a point in my future YouTube live to make this very clear, that we stick to the subject area for our questions and answers too. Okay, so we will do that. So with that, I will stop. Please, those of you who get to watch this afterwards, please let me know what you think of it, what you think of the format. You can suggest some areas for future YouTube live that I would do, and also give me some feedback about the timing. Okay, so I'm going to stick with what my friend suggested, to stick to 10 minutes. That's what I'm going to do. But if you have some different suggestions, please give those to me into the comments. All right. So with that, I'm going to stop this particular YouTube live session. Okay. Thank you, everyone who joined.